Okay, can I have a quick show of hands? How many of you guys have an advisory board? Okay, keep your hands up. How many of those guys, how many of you people with your hands up would recommend that other companies here also get an advisory board? So I think, I couldn't quite tell, but I think that was about 100%. Does that make everybody else interested? Why the heck were they saying that? So I'd like to share with you the story of how and why I created my advisory board. I'm Scott Phillips from EO Victoria. My company does medical device engineering. Around 2006, I had a company that was losing money, had low morale, had fights with my management team who all thought I was doing a crappy job. And I thought, what the heck am I going to do about this? I better go seek some real advice. So I set about trying to find some really experienced people in my specific industry, medical devices, that I could pick their brain, I could get them to focus deeply on my problems, I could handpick them for their deep experience and wisdom, and they would also be able to help me figuring out what the right questions were. And I figured once I developed some rapport with them, they would be willing to share some of their network with me, leverage some of the relationship they've developed over the years, and develop some good opportunities for us. But the biggest reason I did it is I wanted this. I wanted accountability. I wanted to be so deathly embarrassed to not perform what I promised in front of them, these people that I admired and respected. I'd rather crawl under a rock and die. So as an entrepreneur, I thought that was really important to achieve that. So what sort of people would you pick to do this sort of thing? In my case, I wanted people who were in the latter stages of their career, willing to give back. Maybe I wanted to think about people that were similar businesses but not competitive. I wanted to think big, not quite this big, because I wanted them to be people that would be willing to actually come to Victoria and spend time with my business and over time become an advocate. So it had to be big, and I had to be thinking as aggressive as I could. But I also wanted to be strategic about it. I wanted to have in line with a vision. I wanted to be pursuing an M&A strategy. I wanted to be pursuing a geographic strategy of developing business up and down the West Coast. So it was very important for me to be able to find people. So here's the people. I got a serial entrepreneur out of Irvine, California, who'd built hundreds of millions of dollars worth of startups in medical devices. I got a guy who'd been a senior executive in General Electric, which is a big company in that space, who's followed on to be an entrepreneur. I managed to convince the ex-CEO of our biggest competitor for 15 years in the Bay Area to come on, which is one of the major markets for us. I got an M&A guy, and I got a serious ops guy who'd run a multinational manufacturing operation. And how much does that cost to have all this stuff? Well, the out-of-pocket cost on a year-to-year basis is a few $1,000s. You can all afford to do this. This is not a super expensive thing. In my case, I also gave them a bit of an equity upside. That's going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars. The meetings we have, in our case, we have 2 meetings a year. They're all day long. People fly to Victoria. We put them up in a hotel 1 or 2 nights, whatever they like, January and July, and then a bunch of ad hoc calls. And over time, it's really developed into wonderful relationships. Prep is key. Here's a binder that we send out, an example that's sent out. It would include things like the financial statements, quarterly results, including objectives. It would include the strategic plan that we have. It would include, in our case, a subsidiary. If there's any HR sort of things, we do 360 surveys, that sort of thing. That would show up in there, particularly about me. And so this is just a way to hold myself accountable. And in addition, I write a letter that goes in the front of that binder. It actually gets emailed out ahead of time. And the binders go out ahead of time, by the way, about a week. And on that letter would say what's happened in the company in the last 6 months, and what's relevant, and also it would have several strategic objectives. So the meeting we hold, it's all paper. We do flip charts, we do whiteboards. The morning is spent discussing the update on the company, and the afternoon is spent discussing some of those strategic issues I've raised. And at the end of the meeting, one of the most critical things I want to achieve is some specific measurable objectives that I'm trying to achieve as a company. What is it that I'm going to commit to these guys I deeply respect and would embarrass me like hell to not achieve these things, and that I can hold myself accountable to? So at the end of the day, what happened? That was all set up about 6 years ago. Well, 2 years ago, we were voted the Company of the Year for Technology Industry of Victoria, which is several hundred companies. I was voted the Executive of the Year for British Columbia in medical devices. We even got some PR out of it. This is a magazine article. It was written about our advisory board in the local business magazine in Victoria. So overall, I'm delighted. We got great business results. It's a perfect adjunct to my EO experience, and I highly recommend you guys think about it. Thanks very much.